don't be one of those people that are so lazy, so comfortable, so unwilling to like rock the boat that they're unwilling to have conversations that could potentially help them save their time and improve the quality of their life and increase and accelerate their net worth growth. I'm recording this episode earlier in the year in 2025, around the time when people are starting to talk about their taxes, and many physicians are starting to think about their taxes. And I want to have a conversation with you about how tax planning and strategic tax planning specifically can accelerate your journey to financial freedom and how it has done that for me. Welcome, guys. I'm Dr. Latifat, founder of MoneyFitMD. I am so honored that you're spending your time with me today. For those that don't know me, I am a physician. I'm a mama of three ladies and the founder of the MoneyFitMD Money School for Women Physicians. This is where I teach my clients how to take the income that they're earning clinically and let it go even farther for them so that they can start to grow their net worth, they can grow financial security, but also they can start to build a legacy for their family. So I remember my journey just a couple years ago. The only thing that I would do about my taxes was just file my taxes. And I was like, TurboTax, right? My taxes were boring. I thought that was all there was to it. Just put some numbers. I'd heard that W-2 employees did not save much in taxes. So you just file your taxes and forget about it. However, a couple of years ago, this is about 6 or 7 years ago now, was when I realized that if I think about the income that I'm earning, and especially because I live in a state that is a high-tech tax state, that what I'm earning is significant amount of it was going towards paying taxes. So for example, if I work 5 days, 2 of those days may be going into paying some sort of taxes on a state level or on a federal level. And, this is not an episode about like how to do taxes illegally. That's what you're looking for. This is the wrong space for you. But it's also important to understand the consequences of not doing anything or not planning strategically when it comes to your taxes. And over the last couple of years, I would say we haven't done anything crazy. However, the things that we have done has saved us a lot of money when it comes to taxes. And what that has meant is that it's been more money in our own pocket to be able to grow, to be able to move faster and get closer to accomplishing our own financial goals. Well, I actually had a moment recently where I was just like, you know what? If we did not do anything when it came to tax planning, if we did not look at how to optimize our taxes, meaning how do we leave more money in our pocket? Like, how would that have changed our journey? And to be honest with you, you know, I would still be me. That sounds weird. However, I think that it would have been harder for us to take a year off traveling around the world like we did. And the reason why is not that it would have been impossible, but part of why we felt freer and it was easier for us to do that was because we knew that our finances were fine. We knew that we had invested money in a way that our net worth was healthy, right? So I actually think that if we had not been strategic about our taxes at all, that it would literally have taken us on that path of more of a traditional route of waiting until we're like age 65 or whatever before reaching a retirement age. And again, I live in a high tax state. There's nothing you're going to do in California to like avoid taxes. They want their money one way or the other, right? But if we can decrease the tax liability, I do think that it definitely does help us. But part of it too is understanding that money in your hands is a good thing. Money in your hands now is a good thing because, again, we were able to take time off and travel the world because of the tax planning that we had done. And even though maybe over time we may still be able to achieve the net worth that we currently are years from now, but time is of the value. Like our kids are never going to be 5 and whatever age they were when we decided to travel. So time is really, really of value. And I know that many of you guys appreciate that. Many of you guys know that life is of value. Maybe some of you guys, your family members, your parents are getting older. Some of you, your kids are getting older. They're just a couple of years before they go to college. Maybe they're already in college and now you're like, man, all the time has gone, all the time has flown by. And you're now realizing the fact that time really is of the value. So for me, I highly, highly believe that not tax planning is being complacent to an extent. There's benefits and risk, and there's some people that will tell you that tax planning makes no sense because, well, you may be saving taxes now, but in future you're still gonna have to pay taxes. To those, to that I say that number one is they're assuming that you're not going to continue tax planning in future. Like there's no world in which there aren't going to be ways to legally decrease your tax liability. It just takes planning, and maybe they're not willing to do it. Maybe they're too lazy to do it. Maybe they're too comfortable and they don't want to rock the boat. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have just decided that tax planning is not something that we're doing in a season of our life and are not going to do long term, right? When I think about even when I was a W-2 employer, there were legal things that you could do closer to retirement, what you could decide how much or what percentage of your income you wanted to earn in order to decrease your tax, to change the tax rate that you may fall into. So there are definitely ways and strategies. The important thing is, number one, don't buy the idea that being a W-2 employee means that you cannot have any tax strategy. And of course, if you're a business owner, absolutely, there are many, many benefits. If you're a 1099, there are many, many benefits. There are many ways that you can tax optimize. People underplay even things like 401k, like that can decrease your tax liability. And for some physicians that I've worked with in the past, part of the challenge they have and why they had not invested in like a 401k is because they're like, well, my income already feels tight. So if my income feels tight and I'm now investing in my 401k, they're thinking that their income is actually not going to be enough for them, which is not true. The fact that you're doing, 19,000 or 10,000 or 20,000 towards your, say, 401k, if that's what you have at work, does not mean that what your take home is going to be down by that exact amount. It depends on what tax bracket that you're in. And that's one thing to keep in mind, guys. Like, there are ways you can legally decrease your taxes. And I will tell you guys about some of the ones that either me or some of my clients have used. Not to belabor the point, but needless to say, this is an educational podcast. I'm not telling you to go do all of this stuff. Talk to your CPA, but don't be one of those people that are so lazy, so comfortable, so unwilling to like rock the boat that they're unwilling to have conversations that could potentially help them save their time and improve the quality of their life and increase and accelerate their net worth growth. And so, I mentioned things like your pre-tax account, like a 401k, like optimizing and choosing to maximize that decreases your taxable income, which means that if you're earning, I don't know, $250,000 and you maximize your 401k for that year, it means that now the amount of your income that is going to be taxable is going to decrease to the extent of what you contributed towards your 401k. Right? Yes, when you withdraw the money in future, you will be taxed. But again, tax strategy doesn't need to go down. Right? And the argument is that, well, in a higher tax bracket than in future? Again, the key is there's always going to be CPAs. There's always going to be people that are trying to help you decrease your tax liability. And as long as you partner with the right people, they will be up to speed on what you can do in order to improve your tax liability. But that is literally an example of what you can do. Real estate is another potential option, and I've used some of those. And it's not just like buying one property and hoping that you get some tax benefits from that. No, you have to be strategic. You have to talk to people that know what they're talking about. Get a CPA that knows what they're talking about. In fact, I don't hire CPAs that don't invest in real estate, because if you understand the potential benefits that exist in real estate and in terms of like tax benefits, you will do it. So if you're a CPA that's not investing in real estate, you're probably not going to be the right fit for me. And not because you don't know your stuff, but it just means that maybe you don't know that part of the law. You're not up to date in that regard, right? And I've met with CPAs that did not know some of the things that are out there that I maybe educated them about. So just keep that in mind, that not all CPAs will know all the things. So if you are someone that is interested in real estate, make sure your CPA is interested in real estate. If you're someone that's a 1099 or business owner, make sure your CPA is not someone that's just pushing a bunch of like W-2 paperwork, down the just turbo taxing equivalent to what you could be doing. So yeah, with real estate, you may have heard about things like the real estate professional status, which is something that is legal. It is something that the government will allow you to do as long as you have evidence of the fact that you meet the criteria. And there are specific hours requirement. You have to log in time. But the most important thing is this. And I always tell people, you cannot say you're a real estate, you qualify as a real estate professional status, which is different from being a real estate agent. It's not the same thing. But for real estate professional status, if you can look a judge in the face and say, my profession is real estate investing, then you can potentially meet criteria in order to be able to cut down some of your taxes from your W-2, meaning that part of the, I'm trying not to go too technical, but part of the depreciation, the decrease in paper loss of the real estate investment you have part of that could potentially be written against your W-2, where your taxable income can go down. You may have heard about people talk about the short-term rental loophole, and many high earning professionals end up going for short-term rental tax loophole, specifically because the hour requirement is not as high as that of a real estate professional status. There is sort of like ethical concerns about short-term rentals, and you definitely want to do your own due diligence. There's no one size fits all, but you have to understand that when you invest in short-term rentals, it can potentially affect the community that you're investing in. And I'm not here to tell you to invest in short term rentals or not invest in short term rentals, because we all have different morals, we all have different ethics, and it's not always black or white. However, I will tell you some of the things that we put into consideration when we're investing in real estate in short term rentals. Part of it is we only invest in places that have strict rules about short term rentals, meaning that I want to make sure that you have thought about the community, you have thought about the impact that me coming in as an investor could have on the community. I want you to think about it and make rules in place to protect the people. So for example, some of the places we invest would say things like you can only have one short-term rental within this many miles around radius. I actually like that because once you know the law, number one is there's lower chances of things changing as long as you adhere to the rules, right? But also because that now they've already made the rules and consideration to protect the community. Because you can imagine how, if all the properties that are in your neighborhood are only for investors, that affects things like the schools, it affects the community, it affects the ratio of adults and kids potentially, but it also affects the prices of properties. So we're not perfect. I'm not trying to tell you that I'm this holy person. No, there's no like, many times it can be gray area, but the most important thing that I tell my clients is I want to be able to sleep at night knowing that I'm not negatively impacting the communities that I'm investing in. I want to add value, not take away value. So just making sure like you are taking whatever decisions you make and putting that in the context of your own principles, the things that you value, the things that you care about in the community. Another thing that people would invest in is like oil and gas. Oil and gas, there are some areas of oil and gas that could be profitable from a W-2 perspective when it comes to decreasing your tax liability. Again, this is another one that comes up with a lot of ethical concerns, which is sort of like what is your belief about like oil drilling? Like, are you in agreement with that? Do you think it's something that negatively or positively impacts the community, right? And the thing is, whether you do it or not, people will do it. But are you willing? Is that what you want for yourself? Like, are you willing to? Will you rest well at night knowing what your money is doing for you? And if you will not find peace, then that may not be something for you. But if you're agree in, like, for example, I'm from Nigeria originally, and we have a lot of like natural oil in there, and there's been a lot of drilling, and under the wrong government and without good regulations, there can be negative impact to like the water bodies and the soil and things like that. So just asking yourself, do you trust the regulations enough to know that the land is protected for generations? And there, again, there's no one size fits all. Even when you look at different like oil and gas drillers, they're going to have different ethical, sort of like ethical locations or positioning. So part of this, it does take time, it does take intention, but your money is out there in the world working for you. you want to know what your money is doing, right? So back to what I was talking about in terms of like the taxes perspective, these are some of the things to keep in mind as well. If you're someone that has HSA can potentially help you when like high savings account. This is usually you would qualify for this if you have high interest health insurance, high interest, I said high end, like high deductible health insurance, you would potentially qualify for HSA. And I'm a huge fan of HSAs. I've done episodes in the past about how you can position this as a long-term retirement, um, another way to invest for the long term towards your retirement. And I'm smiling right now because there's someone that joined our money school, one of my clients, who joined us about a month ago, who was like, she's been doing HSAs every year, but then she would spend the money. She would use the money for health issues. And now that she's been in our community and she's learned from the modules about how you can position your HSA, your high interest savings account, to be part of your retirement potentially portfolio, to almost act as a Roth investment for long term. And I'm a huge fan of Roths. There's some things that I just like. Some people like diamonds. I mean, I like some kinds of jewelry sometimes, but I love me some Roths. I love me some real estate. I love me some women investing. I love women and freedom. I love women physicians killing it. So I love, that's why I do what I do with working with women physicians and helping them have more money, more freedom sooner than later. But this specific physician was like, now I know better and I'm not spreading my HSA. I'm going to be investing my HSA. And I just love it so much because, when women join us and they do the things that we teach, many of them, they invest way more than they've ever invested before. But what that means is like their money is working for them more than before they joined our community, which means that their net worth is now positioned to grow more. They take sabbaticals, they have more freedom. And I mean, it's one of the most impactful things that I do with my time these days. And it's really helping women that want to build legacies, not just for themselves only, but also for their future to come, and just helping them do that. But anyway, so your HSA is another way that you can also, as a W-2 employee, potentially being able to qualify for HSA and reduce your tax liability with that. But if you're a business owner, you locums, you own your own coaching company, you own your own fabrics company, like whatever the business is, you have to make sure that you're talking with your CPA to decrease your tax liability legally, right? And again, the impact of that is really, if if I tell you that you could have $5 million by age 65, or you could have $5 million by age 45, which one of them would you want? And I want you to ask yourself this question. If you had $5 million by age 45, what decisions would you make about your time? What would you say yes to? What would you be saying no to? Right? As opposed to like waiting until you're age 65 or age 70 to get to that point, you would literally have lived a life potentially of saying yes to things that you would have otherwise said no to, and no to the things that you would otherwise say yes to. That is why it is so important for you to not delay too long, not keep wasting time, dragging time, procrastination, saying I'll do it tomorrow, I'll get to my finances tomorrow. Life is so busy right now, I don't have time to do this. Like all of that is not only decreasing the amount of potential net worth growth you can have, but also time is going, life is going, your relationships are going. And the things that you could have done when you were 40, now you cannot do them until you're 65. And I've shared on the podcast in the past that I lost my dad when I was 68 years old, right? Retirement is not where you wait on to put every single dream and every single thing that you can accomplish in this world. So again, I'm a huge fan of tax planning for this specific reason, is because it can decrease the time from now to when you accomplish your financial goals, so that you can have the time to make decisions about your own, how you spend your time, how you spend your life, how you spend your relationships, but also having the freedom to pursue your purpose, your next level purpose. One of our women physicians inside of the money school, we're having a conversation about how, she's someone that is done, when you think about financial security, she's already has that in place. She's done the 529s, the Roths, the investment, the real estate, and all of that stuff. And, her net worth is where many people's net worth may not actually end up getting to if they don't do the right things with their finances. But what that has created for her now is she has freedom of purpose. And so the question is now a matter of going to the future at the end of her life and now going back in her life and saying, what are the things that I would have liked to do in terms of experiences for family, in terms of like impact work, maybe having a foundation, traveling around the world, cutting down at work, volunteering, being a board member, like whatever it is. Like the point of time freedom is not, and I think there's a lot of misconception about this because people think that time freedom is about sitting down on your couch and doing nothing. Y'all, that would drive you and I crazy. I believe that I have time freedom right now. And even with that, I still practice medicine by choice. I do it at a level that I choose. I get a chance to do this podcast, which is, I get to teach women physicians how to have more money, how to have great wealth in a way that is wholesome, how to how to have the freedom of life, how to pass on generational wealth, generational learning, how to pass on legacies. Like that work is impactful. That work, like imagine your grandkids get to benefit from the work that I'm doing today. And so that is impact work. I think about, the giving that we do that will only continue to increase. I think about the presence that I have, like presence of mind, presence with my kids, where last year my kids started a new school, which unfortunately, racism can't happen. And I'm so grateful that I have the time to be able to advocate for them, the time to be able to spend with them to help them recover. So there's just so much that we can do with time. Like time is literally our most precious resource. And unfortunately, most people are going to live their life without giving themselves that choice. But if you listen to this podcast, you're not one of those people. You're someone that understands that your time is valuable. Your life is valuable. That is why you cannot ignore your tax planning. You cannot rely on TurboTax. You cannot rely on a CPA that just wants to like push a bunch of like W-2s down the whatever. You want to be number one is be on the right team. Yes, it's going to cost you money potentially to, yes, it will cost you money, not even potentially, to hire a CPA. But remember that it's not, you can't just be looking at the money as what you're spending. You have to look at the return on investment. So if my CPA is helping me save on taxes, be strategic about planning so I can have more time, have more freedom, avoid mistakes that could burn my time later, right? All of that stuff. I mean, it is worth their weight in gold, right? It is worth their weight in gold. But apart from having the right CPA or having the right, sort of like the professional, it's also about being in the right community where you're learning things, right? One of the things that I teach inside of the money school is the importance of social wealth. Many of my women are not necessarily born into wealth. They're diverse women physicians, but some of them are the first in their family to be aiming for seven-figure net worth. Maybe the first in their family to be a physician, first in their family to have the audacity to not work full time, first in their family to do whatever. Like these are the women that I have the pleasure of being with. So they're not one of those, they're not positioned by birth necessarily to have the access that Obama's daughter may have, or the access that Trump's kids may have, or access that Biden's kids may have. They may not be that. But there's something about positioning yourself to get access to social wealth. You know, when our women are talking in the money school, literally they're exchanging knowledge that saves themselves time, that opens up their mind. And when I think about how we structure our community, it is with that in mind. So there's some communities where there's no long-term continuity, meaning that there may be some money communities where you come in, I don't know what, I have no idea what people do, but maybe 3 months, maybe I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, short term. But the money school is intentionally 12 months. And we have people that are there for multiple cycles that are, I think our longest people are like 3 years now, which is amazing to me. Amazing to me. It is such an honor to see women progress over the last 3 years and how their lives have changed dramatically. And so when I think about the multiple years, the way that we're structured, when people come in as beginners, they are in the same room with the people that have been there for 2 years. And what that means is that there's an onboarding process where there is knowledge that we want them to acquire within the first trimester in the program. So that's what we're pointing them to. We're coaching them alongside. But it's great that they get to hear from people that are more seasoned, because now they're like, okay, I don't even know what that means. I've never heard that word before, but now I've heard it, right? And it's really, really amazing, because people have told me this, that when they go back and watch some of the replays that we have in our portal, because when you come into the money school, you not only get access to coaching going forward, but literally you get access to like our library of coaching, which is like a wealth of knowledge. And people are like, oh my goodness, I watched the one from 6 months ago. And it's amazing to see that that person that sounds really impressive now and is talking about how they're investing, they're taking time off, they're doing accomplishing their dream travel goals, how they were 6 months ago, and how like it's just like it's this generational thing that is just amazing and powerful to see. But also because our women are learning from each other, right? So make sure that you're positioning yourself in communities where it's not just about the coach only. I think I'm pretty impressive. I just think I'm impressive. Just like I think you are impressive. I think if you are human and you're a human woman physician, you are impressive. However, part of the wealth of joining our community is not just me, but the social wealth that you get access to. There's nothing like it. So literally imagine you're in a community with people that have been there for 3 years. And also in a community with people that have been there for like 1 month. And in a community with those that have been there for 6 months. Like the wealth in the container is just like off the chain, right? And you get to learn from that. So our community is not for every single person, it's not for every woman physician. If you've listened to more than 5 episodes on this podcast, you probably are someone that would benefit from potentially working with us. We don't accept everybody. You can go to moneyfitmd.com/call. Let's schedule a call. Let's see where you are, see what you're trying to go to, and then we'll see if the money school is the right fit for you or not. If it's not, I'm happy to point you in the right direction. But just keep in mind the fact that, like, when you're in communities like this, you're learning what people are doing. So, for example, we recently had someone come in and do like options trading on like education on options trading. And this is someone that like used to work on the trading floor. But y'all get what I mean. This is like people that get paid to trade people's money at like on the trading floor. And she came in and was able to like coach our women physicians, tell them where to start. And there's some of our women that are already options trading and they got to ask questions, right? Again, so that social network and social wealth is incredible. And that's something that you can, if you're someone that wants to join the money school, make sure you get access to that kind of replay as well. So anyways, the point of this conversation is don't sleep on your tax planning. Don't be like, there is a difference between people that are wealthy minded and grow their net worth significantly versus those that don't. Those that don't, many times they're not actively thinking about taxes. They only think about taxes when it's time to file their taxes. And I will tell you that I've experimented with my own life even over the last couple of years, and there's a huge difference between the years that I tax plan ahead of time versus the years that I don't. It did not come natural to me to plan my tax. It did not. I was like most people in America, I was like most physicians. So no judgment at all if that's where you are. The thing though is now going forward, you have to ask yourself, what are the ways? Am I planning ahead of time? Like tax time is not the time to start thinking about tax strategy. Now is the time to be thinking about your tax strategy for the future, for 2025, so that you're planning. Do you have the right CPA or do you need to switch your CPA? And there's nothing wrong with that. Most people actually do end up switching their CPAs over time. I think we have had 2 CPAs over the last 8 years, and we're there, we may be changing our CPA again. Who knows, right? There's nothing like, there's just, don't be so attached that you're unwilling to pivot. Because if you're so attached that you're unwilling to pivot, the best you can accomplish is the best you've already accomplished. Is that what you want though? And then the last one is make sure that you're putting yourself in communities where you are expanding your social net worth. You're expanding your social wealth, especially if you were not born in a family where these conversations taking place. There's a mentor of mine that would say this quote, and it would reference someone else, but I will say the quote. And it said, if you did not come from a wealthy family, know that a wealthy family can and should come out of you. And I know that that's the mindset that a lot of my physicians have. And I just want you to know that I wish it would be nice if your family taught you. It would be nice if it was easier for you then. But the bottom line is we can't change the past, but you can change the future for your generations. Okay. So I hope this episode has been helpful for you. I'm Dr. Latifat. If you've learned anything out of from this episode, please leave us a comment. It really helps us to know how this is helping you. But of course, I also encourage you to share this as well with other women physicians in your community that you want to have more money and more freedom. Imagine a world where you could accomplish your 20-year goal in 5 years. I've had people that have gone 15 years, and when they finally joined the money school, and actually one of them said she had been following me for 2 years. And guys, she's been listening to the podcast, she's been reading the emails for about 2 years, and she finally said yes to investing in herself last year. And I cannot tell you how different her life looks now. She is overworking less. She is teaching her kids about money. She has invested in passive real estate investments that are in line with what she wants. She's stressed out less. She's paying off her debt like it's automated. There's a plan, and she's not letting that stand in the way of her growing her net worth. And I cannot wait for the things that we're talking about now, because she's literally doing she's putting into place what she needs to do to free up her own time even more so that she can start earning money with her mind. And it is an honor to be her coach. So it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how long you haven't done stuff. Today is a new day. All you need to do is stop delaying. And if we can be of help, all you have to do is just go to moneyfitmd.com/call, answer the questions, schedule the call. The fact that you schedule the call does not mean you're going to get into the money school. We don't force anybody. I don't want you in there if you're not all in. We only bring people in there that we can serve. And my goal is to serve. So I will be honest with you if we cannot serve you. All right. Thank you guys so much. I love you. Thanks for being a part of my world. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Goodbye.